The first time I slipped into something of hers, I knew my life would never be the same. Standing in Madison's bedroom with my heart pounding and my skin alive with sensations I had never imagined, I understood that something inside me had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for her. Waiting to become who I was always meant to be. But I am getting ahead of myself. This story begins years earlier, long before I knew what I would become, long before I knew what I truly wanted. When I was just a boy in sixth grade, Madison moved into the house next door. Like most boys my age, I wanted nothing to do with her at first. She was a girl, after all, and boys simply did not play with girls. But Madison discovered early on that she genuinely liked me, and she refused to give up. Day after day, she worked to break through my resistance. She was relentless in the sweetest way, showing up at my door, inviting me to play, ignoring every excuse I offered. Before long, we became virtually inseparable. The only exception was when she spent time with her girlfriends, and by eighth grade, her hours seemed evenly divided between me and them. I did not know it then, but Madison saw something in me that I could not yet see in myself. Something soft, something hidden, something that would one day blossom into the girl I was destined to become. It was not as though she had a crush on me. Madison was never boy crazy like some of the other girls, and while I caught some grief from my peers for being seen with her on such friendly terms, our bond only deepened. We grew close in a way that resembled loving siblings, and yet it was not quite that either. There was always something different about what we shared. I had tried many times to understand it. I was far from stupid, but I could never quite grasp why I felt so drawn to Madison or why our connection ran so deep. What puzzled me even more was how easily she convinced me to play house with her. Somehow, I even developed a fondness for her dolls and other girl toys. Madison played the mommy most of the time, but she noticed how gentle and tender I was with the dolls. So she coaxed me into trading roles now and then, letting me take the mommy part on occasion. I proved surprisingly good at it, mimicking the mannerisms I had observed in women. What started as an occasional swap became routine that year, and whatever nurturing instincts lived inside me began to flourish and grow stronger. My father, of course, always gave me boy toys. I played with them and pretended to be a bulldozer driver or something else the other boys would approve of. But deep down, I came to prefer my time with Madison and her dolls. Eventually, we outgrew the pretend phase and discovered video games. Madison's mother, Bonnie Mitchell, twice divorced and working the 4 to 12 shift at the hospital, never seemed troubled by me spending time in her daughter's room. By then, Madison was old enough to look after herself. If she could earn money babysitting other children, Bonnie reasoned, she could certainly stay home alone. Besides, my parents lived right next door, and there was a loose arrangement between the families in case anything went wrong. Time passed. Madison and I moved through the first 3 years of high school, with little changing between us. Do you realize we have been hanging out since sixth grade and never once gone on a date, Madison? Yes, I know it is strange, Chris. But here we are, heading into senior year. You are my very best friend. It is so odd how close we are without any romance between us. The other girls are always asking me about it, because you are so cute with those big blue eyes and that long blonde hair. I do love you, you know? I know, Madison, and I love you too. It is so strange when I'm with you. I feel different somehow. It is almost like we are girlfriends or something. I mean, we go shopping together, and you tell me I have great taste in clothes. Well, girl clothes anyway. And I love watching you enjoy all those slinky things and your high heels and everything. I have to admit that lately I have had trouble sorting out my feelings about a lot of things. I do not understand, Chris. What are you getting at? I'm not sure myself, Madison. But if I were being truly honest with myself, I would have to say I think I am a little jealous of you. Me? Whatever for? I do not know. You are so attractive and fun to be around. And we are almost the same size, which I suppose makes me an 8. Well, honey, you have always been a 10 in my book. But what does your dress size have to do with anything? That is just it. I do not know. And why are we even talking about my dress size? I have never worn a dress in my life. Then, out of the blue, Madison spoke. Want to take me out on a date? I know we have never done it, but I have been wondering what it would be like. Really? Us? On a real date? Sure. Why not? I do not know. I think I might feel like I was dating my sister. Well, we are kind of like sisters, are we not? We have done girl stuff together as long as I have lived here. I guess I cannot deny that. But I did not mean it like that. And you know, I have never been on a date. I would not know how to act. Let us try it anyway, Chris. It might be fun. Who knows? We have so much in common. Much more than living next door and playing video games. Yes. And dolls, playing house, and your mom teaching us how to cook too. And you have such great taste in clothes, Chris. I swear I am one of the best dressed girls in school because of your help. I just know some of them are jealous that I have my own personal fashion counselor. You really should consider designing women's clothes someday. I felt heat rise to my cheeks. Gee, thanks, Madison. I do not quite know how to respond to that one. You know, Chris, it is a shame you cannot share in any of the lovely things you pick out for me. I really feel badly about that. We have shared so much these past years. She paused, then brightened. Want to go to a movie Friday? Sure. All right, Madison said. I will drive, but I want you to come over a little early. I think I'm going to have a little surprise for you. For me? I love surprises. I hope you love this one too, Madison said with a knowing smile. Okay. See you in school tomorrow. It was 2 days until our date, and I was on pins and needles, wondering what Madison's surprise could be. She had a way of being mysterious when she wanted to. Friday arrived, and I went over around 7 since the movie did not start until 8. It was the middle of July, and the heat lingered even after sundown, so I wore dark shorts and a short-sleeved shirt with a tank top underneath and a pair of sandals. As usual, I followed her up to her room. She had a surprise for me, all right. We had barely gotten through her door when she walked over to her chest of drawers and pulled out a pair of red satin hip hugger panties trimmed with wide red lace around the legs and waist. Holding them up in front of me, she spoke softly. Chris, honey, I want you to wear these on our date. Boy, Madison, when you say you have a surprise, you do not fool around. Those are your best satin panties. We just bought them last week. I know. That is exactly why I want to share them with you. I think it is a crime that you cannot enjoy some of the pretty things you pick out, and I have not worn these yet. Will you do it for me? Please? I promise you can take them right off if you do not like how they feel or how they make you feel. Madison, I'm not one of those guys. At least, I do not think so. I never said you were, Chris. And neither am I suggesting anything like that. I just wanted to share how wonderfully sensuous they feel. You might find you really do like them. Please wear them? Oh, all right. If it means that much to you, I suppose I can stand it for one night. And so I undid my shorts and turned around modestly, sliding down my briefs before pulling those luscious panties up over my almost hairless legs. It would be difficult to describe the feelings I experienced putting on those panties for the first time. The fabric had a slight stretch to it, and I pulled them up slowly, feeling every inch of my skin tingle beneath the satin. My head swam a little, and I found myself becoming rather excited by the whole thing. It became obvious that my manhood, or perhaps more accurately, my boyhood, did not quite agree with the panties in a way I had never considered. So I carefully tucked myself away as best I could and hiked them up snugly until the bulge was minimal. The idea that I would be out in public with those beautiful panties hidden beneath my shorts was more of a thrill than most of my fantasies had ever been. I worried briefly about my panty line showing, but the excitement overshadowed that fear. It was then I knew I was in some trouble. I liked them more than I wanted to admit to Madison, more than I would admit to her, more than I could even admit to myself in that moment. They were so smooth and sexy against my skin. I ran my hand over my backside and hips, marveling at the sensation. Then, to my utter surprise, Madison stepped right in front of me and did the same. Her hands glided over the satin where it hugged my body. I felt flushed and must have been blushing fiercely as she looked straight into my eyes. Well, it was then I realized we were exactly the same height, 5 feet 6 inches. I was at a loss for words, so rather than grope for the appropriate response, I simply pulled up my shorts. The fabric slid sensuously over my new underwear. Madison wore a huge grin as I finally managed to speak. "Thank you, Madison. They do feel wonderful. I will wear them." "Well, in that case, dear heart, they are a gift. They are now yours to keep. I want you to have them and wear them whenever we go out." "Okay. They do feel really sexy. Maybe you will let me get you some more," she asked. "I do not know. Maybe. I really should not be doing this, you know. You just need a little modification in your attitude, sweet cheeks." And so we had our first real date, a movie and a Sunday afterward. We went out again the following weekend, this time to a drive-in movie. They were fast disappearing by then, one of the last of their kind in our area. She had already been shopping and bought me 6 more of those slinky panties, just like the red ones, but in white. She made me promise to wear them from now on, all the time, and I did. Even though my mother's warning about clean underwear in case of an accident crossed my mind more than once. I laundered them by hand and hung them in my closet to dry where no one would see. On our second date, it became quite clear that Madison's idea of sharing with me was not going to stop at panties. It would likely progress to other light, silky, feminine clothing. The thought scared the living hell out of me, and yet, well, they were very nice. I had no idea how she was going to manage it, but my resistance was already crumbling. I was becoming susceptible to her suggestions, though that was nothing new. Not really. How else could you get a boy to play house and be the mommy? Sure enough, that week she talked me into a plain white blouse and a pair of her dress Bermuda shorts, along with her white leather airstep sandals that had a very slight wedge heel. They were not the flimsy strappy kind, so I wore them. They had an adjustable vamp, but I did not need to make any changes. We had the same sized feet, too. How strange that seemed. The blouse was a nylon and polyester blend, and the shorts were light tan cotton with pleats and a 3/4 belt. Thank heaven they had a fly. It went the wrong way, but at least they had one. They did not look that different from boys' shorts, really. But we knew the truth, and that was what made it exciting. The fabric was opaque enough that I did not need an undershirt, and it felt wonderful against my skin. The shorts did accentuate my waistline more than I would have liked, though. The next time we were at the mall and stopped into Victoria's Secret, she asked my opinion about a push-up bra. I gave it my stamp of approval. It, too, was all satin and lace. Very sexy, I thought. I liked seeing Madison in sexy clothes, and yes, I had seen her in her bra and panties on many occasions. I wondered how this one would look on her when she showed it to me. She bought it without even trying it on. A few nights later, while we were playing on her computer, she retrieved it from her drawer. Holding it up in front of me with that familiar, well, attitude, she made me put it on. I say she made me, and I did protest about this increasing feminization, but I did it anyway. Somehow she managed to arrange my soft, slightly puffy, and totally non-muscular chest into that bra in such a way that it looked entirely convincing, even to me. So there I stood in sexy panties and a bra. Well, then she had me put on her shorts again with a hot pink satin blouse and the sandals. What I did not quite have a grip on was how convincing her arguments seemed to be each time she got me into something new. Now I had my own bra, and I must say it looked very, how should I put it, appropriate under the blouse. Even on me. I was wearing panties and a bra. Now I knew I was in trouble. I reasoned that this was having a certain effect on me in more ways than one. Darned if it was not somewhat pleasant, though. Well, I told myself, I could always just say no, like in the anti-drug ads. And for the life of me, I really did try. But I could see that she was sincere in her intentions to share some of the delights of femininity, and I did not want to disappoint her. Please do not ask me why. I really did not know. She wanted me to experience all these lovely things in a sisterly way, and I thought it was sweet of her. A harmless little diversion. It was a good thing I did not have to take physical education as a senior, or my new underthings would have done me in for sure. Of course, I only wore the bra at her house, at least until it got cold enough for a heavy jacket. Then, I wore it whenever we went out together. I suppose my longer hair helped my rather feminine image too. It turned out that most of our early dates were to movies and other dark places, and she could dress me in more openly feminine things. They proceeded to get silkier and sexier and more unmistakably feminine every couple of weeks. The fact was that I was rarely in a stitch of men's clothing when we went out anymore. She always managed to find something that would pass as masculine, or so she convinced me, if people did not look too closely. And people rarely do. It was time for school to start, and Madison had forbidden me to get a haircut all summer. Now my rather long and full head of hair reached my shoulders and tended to be straight with a slight curl under at the bottom, forming a natural page boy. I'm afraid it made my hair quite swingy, and I was forever reaching up with a finger in the manner of girls, tucking strands behind my ear to keep them out of my eyes. I always kept it clean and healthy, and she loved it longer. Her other girlfriends did too. I did not mind the long hair. A lot of macho guys wore their hair even longer. But about 2 weeks before school started, she took me to a jeweler and had my ears pierced. Tiny pearls went into the fresh holes. My protests were in vain, as usual. She was very good at selling her ideas for my self-improvement and enrichment. I admit that I rather liked the look of the longer hair, especially with the earrings. After they healed, she gave me a pair of half-inch gold hoops, and I liked that look even more. Of course, the image I was seeing in her mirror, the shape of breasts beneath fabric, the flowing hair, the glinting earrings, all of it was quite disquieting. I was really beginning to truly enjoy these things and the way they made me look. By this time, Madison had me convinced that it was not a sin for a boy to enjoy some pretty things. After all, the fashion, hair, and cosmetics industries had long ago persuaded men to use hairspray, mousse, cologne, skin lotions, hair color, earrings, necklaces, and bracelets. Why should I be any different? I had even seen a few men in the unisex salon getting facials and manicures. One night, she said she wanted to do some shoe shopping. We went to a large self-serve store in the mall that was having a close-out on summer sandals. As we cruised the size 7.5 aisle, I pointed out various styles I thought would look cute on her. But the first pair she tried was a pair of high-heeled loafers. They had to have 2.5-inch heels, but they were blocky and not very sexy at all. Like them, Chris? Not my idea of very feminine, I said. Good. Step out of mine and into these. No. Yes, Chris. This is just another way of sharing. Just do it. It was not really a request, so I did. Boy, was that different. All right, now walk down the aisle and see how they feel. I did. Do not be so stiff. Well, they feel just fine, but I have to wiggle my backside. Fine. About time you learned. Take them off and put them in the cart. So I did. Since I was being forced into this situation, it was a little less traumatizing. We found a pair of sandals we both liked. Again, it was my feet that tried them on. This time they were strappy, sexy, semi-high wedge heels. I was really nervous about trying on girls' shoes, but I liked them. They would have looked nicer with painted nails, but I had knee-high hose on anyway. I told Madison of my concerns. It was a very short discussion. We put them in the cart. Chris, think about this. Your hair, your earrings, the way you're dressed. Nobody is going to think a thing. Oh. Yes. When you put it that way, it does seem more logical. I suppose I do look a bit girlish. She just smiled. Girlish indeed, my sweet thing, she thought to herself. And we have only just begun to liberate you. We also got me a pair of regular penny loafers, and I thought we were finished. But as we passed the dress pumps near the front of the store, we both spotted the same pair of red calf mid-heeled pumps at exactly the same moment. They almost looked like patent leather. They had the latest version of the princess heel with 3/4 lifts, as opposed to the older spikes. Much more stable and easier to walk in, as I was soon to find out. She looked at me. I looked at her. In that brief moment, I'm afraid it was decided. I tried them on. They looked smashing with the slacks I had on. Like them, Chris? Gee, Madison, what is not to like? They are a little lower than the loafers, and I love the way the vamp is cut so sexy with a little toe cleavage. Good heavens, Madison, I think I am getting off on them. Walk down the aisle for me. Loosen up, Chris. Heels need a little hip action. I did as I was told, and sure enough, they felt good. I found I could actually walk in them. Wear them out of the store, she said. Are you serious? No, I am Madison. Are You Serious is an Australian actor. But yes. All right, but if we see anybody we know, I am toast. You know that. They will get over it, she said. When I laid the shoes on the counter, the clerk looked up and asked, Will that be all, ladies? I ignored the comment entirely because there was no innuendo attached. No, said Madison. And then she popped over and grabbed a shoulder bag to match my new red pumps. And so I wore them the rest of the evening and carried the bag, even though it was empty, save for my wallet. I carried it even to the movie. But I drew the line at the malt shop, where she let me wear my new loafers instead. They were higher, but not so blatantly feminine. On our first date after school began, as cooler weather comes rather suddenly in the mountains, she introduced me to another sensual pleasure. 2 days before, it had been in the low hundreds. Today, it was in the 70s and would stay there for a while until it really got cold. It was already in the 50s in the more northern states. No one at school had picked up on anything unusual, or at least they had not made a fuss about it. I'd always been a bit on the nerdy side anyway, and the kids expected me to be a little eccentric, hanging around with girls. I even wore my pants a little low, so I would not accentuate my smallish waist. The last time we went to the drive-in, I complained that the ladies' slacks left me a little on the cool side. Well, she had the answer for that too. We were not going to a movie this time, but to a football game, and she gave me a pair of heavy dancing tights to keep me warm. Again, the sensations of pulling those tights on over my panties were almost too much for me. Sleek, slick, silky, and sexy. I could feel every cell of my legs being caressed by them, even under the chic blue jeans I would be wearing that night. She was right, of course. I was toasty. I should have known she would be. I had gotten a job at Miller's Pharmacy when I was just 17. This was, of course, after Madison had changed my mind about a few things. They put me to work stocking shelves and cleaning up at first, but within a few months, one of the girls quit. They needed somebody on the front register and gave me a shot at it since I was now familiar with the store. I liked the customer contact. I could type and count, and it was a rare day when I came up even a penny short. So they let me stay there and hired another kid as a stock boy. My new clothing and hair and earrings carried right over into my job, of course. I was not going out of my way to look macho these days. Quite the opposite, probably. If anything, I suppose I had become more like my clothing. Feminine. Miller's was not really Miller's anymore. The pharmacist and owner was a woman named Jennifer Harrison. She was the one who had hired me in the first place. Being a woman, and knowing by now that women were by nature more observant than men, I figured one of these days I was going to get fired if things continued into more blatant outer garments. Well, that was not anything to worry about just yet. I only worked 3 nights a week, and that afforded me about a $50 paycheck every week before taxes. I had built up a pretty nice savings account and even opened my own checking account. I had been buying my own clothes ever since I started. Not the job. The lingerie and everything else. My folks even let me buy a little Toyota. The insurance was about $50 a month, but that was only 1 week's salary, and there was plenty left over. Wearing my new underthings all the time seemed to be having an effect on how I interacted with people, though, especially at work where my peer group seldom came. I was still doing my best to act macho, but underneath I could feel myself losing something. Something I had never quite had a grasp of, or understood anyway. something I wanted to maintain, I think. Hell, I was not really so sure anymore. I knew it was with tender, loving care that Madison was treating me to all these new sensations, or so it seemed. But I was becoming genuinely afraid. Afraid that I had gone one step too far already, that somehow I was now addicted to feminine clothing and lingerie. I suppose I was, after all. And I wondered what my next new delight would be. It was at once an elating and revolting personal revelation. I had to face the fact that I really liked feminine clothing and high heels on my own body. At the very least, I was by definition a transvestite now. I knew she had not meant to harm me, and I did not feel harmed, really. But I was no longer the Chris I had known earlier that year. I had changed not only in my clothing, but in my very being. I suppose you could make an easy argument that I had never really been all boy in the first place, but I had made a fair attempt at it. Now I could feel myself slipping slowly into feminine mannerisms as well, gesturing more with my hands, in a soft, easy manner, being more demonstrative around people, especially Madison's girlfriends, who had now become my girlfriends too, allowing my voice a wider range of expression. That was really scary because it all felt so comfortable all of a sudden. It was so easy to fall into that feminine mode when I was around so many girls anyway. It does not seem reasonable that scary and comfortable should reside side by side, but they did. So now I was wearing pantyhose, panties, girls' jeans, and slacks, and occasionally even a blouse to school, occasionally even to work, and I never had any boy clothes on over the weekends. Ever. I kept my hair in a ponytail most of the time now, which made my earrings even more evident, but nobody seemed to mind. I thought it made me look just too feminine to leave it down since it was now brushing my shoulder blades, and since I used girls' hair care products, it was very full. Nobody could really tell my new loafers were high-heeled with my long slacks on, and I did not wear them to school. Not at first. It was then that I realized that, except for makeup and my bra, Madison had me dressing completely as a girl all the time now. And yes, I'm afraid I was acting like one too, especially on our dates, which were sometimes with a couple of other girls. I never knew a bunch of girls could have such a good time. No wonder boys seemed sort of optional. Wow, I just said a couple other girls. How did I mean that? Was it other girls or other girls including myself with them? And it was becoming harder and harder to part with my pretty things on Monday mornings. Naturally, Taylor and Morgan knew how I was dressing too, and they thought it was neat. I wore my ponytail up and tied with a ribbon now when we were out, even in the daytime. We were at the local pizza joint after a football game, and the waiter came over to our table. "Well, what can I do for you girls tonight?" I just looked up at him with my big blue shadowed doe eyes and smiled. I did not want to embarrass anyone, so I kept my mouth shut. But we had a good giggle over it afterward. My drawers and some of my hangers were now laden with feminine things. Thank heaven my mother had encouraged me to do my own washing some time ago. Now I did it willingly. I always kept the boyish stuff on top of the hamper and at the front of the closet. I gave up boys' shoes completely in favor of lightweight girls' loafers, casuals, and moccasins. When the really cold weather hit, I got myself some girls' sport boots and high-top sneakers. They were not really that much different from the boys' versions, but we all knew they came straight from the ladies' aisle, and that made it more fun. It was a running joke among the four of us. I was beginning to feel a little sexy and feminine and special and accepted by our little group. Whenever any of us were out together now, sometimes I wore my hair in a braid. My manner of dress became an inside joke, and it was both fun and tantalizing being feminine and yet not quite. It was kind of like all those androgynous performers like Chris Martin and Adam Lambert, who even wore 4-inch spiked heeled boots on stage. At this point, I had never worn makeup, except for that little bit of shadow. "Chris, you have to admit now how nice the things you choose for me are. Right?" "Yes." "How could I deny it now?" "Well, I want to give you something for your birthday a little early." "What?" "Open the box." "Oh, Madison, these are beautiful. But how can I wear girls' pajamas and high-heeled mules and a robe at home? Has your mom said anything so far about your girl clothes? No? Do you really think she is so blind she has not noticed? I have been pretty careful, but truthfully, I had not given it much thought. You are probably right. She did say she liked the shorts outfit you gave me, and she made a comment about how cute the sandals were. She did use the word cute. I have not been all that careful lately, and for sure she sees what I am wearing, including the shoes and boots. She has always pretty much treated me like the daughter she wanted anyway, much to my father's distaste. He probably thinks I am gay. Then what will change? Yeah, I see your point. I suppose I could enjoy them as long as I do not rub my dad's nose in it. All right, I will wear them. And thank you. Again. I leaned in and kissed her. Your lips taste like raspberry, Madison. Do you like it? Yummy! Well, here, try some. And in a flash, she had my lips a rosy frost raspberry, both looking and tasting. Then she got into it and applied some gloss over it and kissed me again. Yes, that does taste good. A little different on you, though. Sit. I sat at her vanity, and she plucked my eyebrows just a little, then filled them in. She coated my lashes with mascara. There now. That is better. I looked in the makeup mirror. Chris was history. A little lipstick and eye makeup, and I was a different person. Almost a girl. Now I knew what I had meant by other girls. Now I understood easily how the waiter had made his mistake. But was it really a mistake? Was I still a boy? I certainly still had the physical sex of a boy. But what about my gender? We had sex education in school, and I knew those were two different things. Holy cow. Is that me? Oh my, Chris, honey. I'm sorry. I think I have gone too far. I think I have just lost my best boyfriend. What do you mean? Just look at you, honey. That face. You look like a blonde, blue-eyed Rachel Green. Superman would be taken with you. And with your Batgirl training from Halloween, you even talk and squeal like Rachel. Those eyes. A man could drown in those deep blue pools. Oh, come on, Madison. Do not mind me. Just doing a little fantasizing. Chris, honey, we can just no longer put up with that name in our little circle of girlfriends. Do we not have more fun than you ever did with boys? You know we do. Well then, how about Ashley instead of Chris? Ashley Marie Thompson. How does that sound? Spooky, but I like it. Okay. I'm Ashley, but heaven help me. How did this get this far? I do not know, hun, but you certainly seem happier lately. I'm beginning to think there must be a natural girl inside you somewhere that was just waiting for the right moment. How does it feel to be Ashley? Wonderful. How do I look? Like my girlfriend Ashley, who could stand just a few more lessons in Girl 101 before we let her completely loose on the world. So you really can be my best girlfriend. You mean it? I asked, a bit incredulous. Listen, my mom has been making me take birth control pills ever since I was 16. At least, that is what she thinks. I never take them and have over 2 years' worth stashed away. Taylor does not take hers either. How about you taking them instead? That is silly, Madison. I cannot get pregnant. No. But what they really are is female hormones. They are supposed to fool your body into thinking you are already pregnant, so the egg and sperm are not as friendly. I bet by graduation, we could have you into a really perfect size, 8 or 9, considering how stacked your mom is. Try them. You will like them. Madison had known that when Chris began taking the pills, things would happen. So she plunged in where angels fear to tread. One day, when she had Ashley over at the house, she told her mother what she wanted to do. Bonnie was not terribly surprised that Madison wanted to help her friend, but she was really upset that her daughter had not been taking the pills. One day, right in front of her mother, Madison said it plainly. Mom has approved your taking my birth control pills, so now we do not have to play around about it. Madison, I screamed. Well, I do not fool around, so it just seemed like a waste of time. I saved them, though, and since they are female hormones, I bet we could have Ashley up to a size 6 panty and an unpadded bra by Christmas, surely by Valentine's Day. What do you think, Mother? I think when the police come, I do not want to know anything about this, Bonnie said, smiling. And so my accelerated transition began. You have always had a rather strange shape for a boy anyway, Madison continued. How about it? Want to give it a shot? Feel the full effect of femininity? Breasts, curves, all of it? I think you will love it. But if you do not, you can stop and it will go away. Mostly. She grinned at that last word. I promise you can quit anytime if you do not like the results or how you feel. What do you mean, mostly? Well, you will probably still look sort of feminine. And unlearning Girl 101 and 102 is not quite as easy as learning it. And you can teach me all I need to know about being a girl? I have had 17 years of practice. Besides, I do not want to get us in trouble either. Do you think I can really be pretty? Sweetheart, you are already too pretty. It can only get better. Your skin will change, your body will change, and so will your head. You are going to give us all competition, but we will try to be gracious about it. I'm willing to chance it. What do you mean about my head? Oh, you will find it difficult to think like a boy. And you will react like a girl is all. It is quite painless, really. You will hardly notice it happening. But I'm afraid other people will. I was doomed. Happy, but doomed. All right, Madison. We can try it for a while. Months passed. Ashley was bursting forth all over. But the culmination came when I donned Madison's prom gown with full makeup. I looked into the mirror. Time stood still. Forever, it seemed. And yet, it compressed into seconds. I felt a delightful pulsation in my panties. And then I fainted. The next thing I knew, both Madison and her mother were standing over me. Madison had applied a cold compress to my forehead. Is she going to be all right? Mrs. Mitchell asked. I'm sure she is, Mom. It was just the shock of seeing herself in a formal gown and spike heels for the first time. She looked down at me with gentle concern. You are all right now, are you not, Ashley? Yes, Madison, I will be okay. I tried to sit up, still feeling a bit dizzy. Mrs. Mitchell, I am so terribly sorry. We should not have. I should not be like this. Nonsense, dear. Madison and I have talked about your nature before, and heaven knows I have seen how you have changed these past months. It is positively amazing, but I am not the least bit shocked. I think she is right. You really should have been a girl. Now why do you not finish getting dressed and come downstairs for some lemonade? We will have a nice chat. All right, Mom. We will be right down. Madison helped me to my feet and steadied me. I cannot believe this, Madison. Look at me. Yes, I know. I just wish you would take my advice and wear some pretty dangle earrings more often. Here, try this print crepe with the A-line skirt. It will add a little flair to your hips, and do keep the pumps on. Oh, Madison, this is too much. I'm almost too excited to move. Well, you will never master slender high heels if you do not move. So get a wiggle on. And I do mean that literally. Madison changed into a skirt and blouse, and together we went downstairs. Mrs. Mitchell was waiting for us in the living room with a pitcher of lemonade and 3 glasses on a tray. Well, Ashley, I think you look just darling in Madison's dress and pumps. I want you to know that it is perfectly all right any time you want to work on your girl skills to come over and practice. Mrs. Mitchell, I do not know what to say. I think I would love that. I suppose I do need to learn how to manage properly in a dress. Actually, Mom, Madison interjected, she has been practicing for months, and she is almost there. She even goes to work as Ashley now, and is completely accepted as a girl by her boss and the customers. In fact, Mr. Patterson, our principal, gave her an ultimatum to decide who she is going to be or leave school. Well, dear, just try saying things in a little softer register like we taught you for Halloween. Use more inflection, and I think you will pass nicely anywhere. And for goodness sake, decide to be Ashley for good. Oh, I see. Thank you. I will practice. You mean like speaking more from the throat instead of the chest? Exactly. And with more highs and lows. If you must scream, make that come from the throat also. Okay. And I really do not think there is much choice anymore. I'm going to end up as Ashley. I really like the new me. But it began so innocently, with just a pair of Madison's panties. Mrs. Mitchell's eyebrows rose slightly. You started this, Madison? Yes, Mom. But look how neat it has turned out. I just wanted to share with my best friend, that is all. So I began to share, and Ashley sort of just blossomed after a while. Are you angry with me? No, honey, just surprised. The damage, so to speak, is done now. A fait accompli. She turned to me with warmth in her eyes. You are not angry, are you, Ashley? Are you kidding, Mrs. Mitchell? I just want to keep going to the end of the rainbow now. I understand you are taking Madison to the prom? Yes. She just asked me this week. Mom, do you think she could get away with wearing my beige chiffon and high heels to the prom? Sure, honey. I cannot see her going in a tuxedo. She would look ridiculous with those B-cup breasts and 25-inch waist. Then you will at least be the same height. This should be fun, although I would not ordinarily approve of you dating another girl, Madison. She laughed softly as she said it. She is barely aware of herself yet, Mom. She is still a tiny bit Chris. But we can fix that, can we not? If that is what she wants, we can. You two are really overwhelming me. And please stop talking about me like I am not here, okay? I feel so tingly and strange like this, and yet it feels really great. Yes. I think I would like to try being all that I can be, like the Army says. This is more fun than I have ever had in my entire life. Well then, I have a little confession to make, Mrs. Mitchell said. You know, Ashley, you have what they call an androgynous body already. I think a full transformation is a definite possibility. You could go to the New Year's ball as sisters next year. However, you have a lot to learn, young lady, before you venture forth into the real world full-time. Mother Mitchell and Madison will help you. Sure, I will do it. But first, I need to master the heels. Oh, we will have that down in no time. It is the rest of getting rid of Chris that is the challenge. Mrs. Mitchell, may I ask you a question? Certainly, honey. How come you are okay with turning me into a girl? The world needs more gentle spirits like you, Ashley. Have you ever met Madison's father? No? Well, then you would not really understand our position. But you two have been like sisters forever anyway. This is just a matter of a little clothing and deportment adjustment. Maybe. But what about my parents? How do you think your parents feel about you now? I think my dad already thinks I am a sissy anyway, and Mom just does not pay that much attention. Or if she does not seem to care. Well then, if you turn out to be a girl, they will not be that surprised, will they? No, I suppose not. And I will be 18 next month anyway. I can do what I want now. What kind of job are you looking for, Ashley? Oh, I still have my job at the pharmacy, Mrs. Mitchell. They have accepted me completely as Ashley now. That is wonderful, dear. Start working on that voice. When people start calling you Miss on the phone, you will know you have made it. I think we can make your feminine presence overwhelming, but the phone is the final test. Now we just have to start doing something drastic with that hair. Do you not think so, Madison? I think I should take her to Nicole at the mall and let her get a cute haircut. Something easy to take care of, and just borderline boyish. Would that be okay, Ashley? If being a girl feels as good as this, I do not think I care what happens to me otherwise. I had some big decisions to make over the weekend, but I made them all by myself. Mrs. Mitchell's suggestion notwithstanding. I showed up for school Monday morning, dressed in the usual chic jeans with knee-highs and flats. A light blue, long-sleeved jersey blouse with double ruffles down the front. Dangle earrings. Hair in a ponytail tied at the crown with a blue ribbon. Full makeup. The die was cast. A lot of the kids did not recognize me, but the in-crowd did and gave me hugs. It did not take Mr. Patterson 2 periods to hear about me, and I found myself once again in his office. Well, young lady, I see you finally slid off the fence. I should not say this, but you are very attractive. Is that, Yes, sir. I have been hiding myself as best I could. Well, what is your new name? What do we call you now? I would like to graduate as Ashley Marie Thompson, sir. Fine. Now that is settled, I can get some sleep. I was afraid you were going to give me an ulcer. He leaned back in his chair, visibly relieved. Your records will be changed at once. Have your mother call me, and I will tell her how to change your birth certificate and your name legally. At this point, the certificate will still have to read male, but the name can be changed. What you do about the rest of the situation is none of my business. That is all. Enjoy your new life. But be a good girl, understand? Yes, sir. I do not think you have to worry about that. None of the boys would even touch me. Do not be too sure, Ashley. I left his office on cloud 9.5. 9 was not high enough. Finals were in 2 weeks. The prom was in 3. And I was going in a cocktail dress and heels. I was giddy. The school was abuzz the rest of the week, but it settled down. Then I was just another girl, a distinction I never dreamed I wanted. I wore dresses now. Dad gave up completely at last, and even began calling me Ashley. Mom and I grew ever closer day by day. I never knew she cared that much. Maybe it was just having an effeminate son that had bothered her before. We never talked about it. She coached me too, and before finals I was indistinguishable from any other girl in manner or dress. Finally, I had some very pretty dresses in my closet, along with sexy lingerie and pretty shoes. My nails were now quite long and always painted, and I could use my hands and be as expressive as I pleased. My voice was a smooth, high contralto after a lot of coaching by Madison and her mom. I confessed to Mom how I had come to change my body, and she took me to her gynecologist to get me proper hormones. Dr. Henderson thought that time-release shots would be best under the circumstances. She showed me how to administer my own injection every 2 weeks. I felt another growth spurt coming on before the prom. I was sore, and my nipples were hard all the time. They showed through absolutely everything I wore. Oh well. By prom time, Chris's anatomy had retreated inside me, and his little appendage no longer even required a control panty. I swear it had shrunk back to about the size it was when Chris was 8 or 9 years old, and I thought that was just lovely. It was useless now, and the thought crossed my mind. What do you need this for, Ashley? I could not answer that one, except with the truth. Nothing. It is just in the way, I guess. Madison and I did date for the prom. Sort of. We went together at least. I was not jealous when she danced with all those boys who did not have dates. I felt very special in her dress. She told me I had great legs, especially in heels. The cleavage was not too shabby either. We did not get to go home together, though. Ryan Davis took her out afterward and drove her home. And Brandon Cooper, among several others who had bravely asked me to dance, knowing full well who and what I was, apparently rather fancied me. He took me out later as well and drove me home. He opened doors for me and treated me the way a perfect gentleman should. He was tall, about 6 feet at least, and rather cute, I thought. Even in my spike heels, he stood 3 inches taller than me. It was an amazing, hassle-free night. With my hair piled high, and my cleavage on display, and my dramatic makeup, and long dangle earrings, Madison had told me I was quite fetching. Up to this point, I had actually considered Madison's suggestion about she and I getting married after high school. But now, well, I was experiencing my first boy myself, and it was very, very stimulating. He held my hand when we walked. We talked easily, and I loved to hear the click of my spike heels tapping against the pavement as I walked beside him. I was so terribly feminine with him that I wondered how I had ever managed to be a boy for so long. What Madison had told me was true. I could not think like a boy anymore. I was reacting to Brandon like any other love-struck female. He was very cute and charming, and he was growing on me by the minute. When we got to my house, he rushed around to open my door. He took my delicate hand in his and helped me exit the car. As he walked me to the door, he put his arm around my tiny corseted waist. Mom had lovingly left the porch light off. As we stood there in the moonlight, Brandon took me in his arms and kissed me. It was my first kiss with a boy. It was long and deep, my breasts pressed against his manly chest, and I loved every second of it. Brandon, Do not say anything, Ashley. And with that, he kissed me again. I lost track of time completely. I was on tiptoe with my arms around his neck, melting into him. The only thing running through my mind was a single, overwhelming thought. Brandon, I think I want to bear your children. Good heavens. Was I ever in trouble?